Probably the most popular crankbait in the last 5 years has been the Lucky Craft Squarebills. Really, there's a lot more behind that bait than most people will ever know, and that's what this story is going to be about. I'm going to kind of give you the origin of the Squarebill, which most people nowadays don't know, because you have to kind of be my age now to understand where that bait really came from, and then you'll understand where the Lucky Craft RC series comes from. This dates back into probably even before I was aware of it, but it really became popular on the BASS tournament circuit in the late 70s. And during this late 70s time period, I was very fortunate to draw a gentleman named Fred Young. He was one of the originators of the Squarebill crankbait. He hand-carved these custom wood baits from balsa wood and different types of wood. I drew him at a BASS tournament, and that morning before we took off, he said, "I'd like for you to have a couple of my baits," and he handed me 2 of them. About halfway through the day, I tied one on just out of courtesy and made 4 or 5 casts with it, and he said, "Hey Rick, I'd like for you to, if you don't mind, I'd like to show you how to fish that bait." He stood up, he was in his 60s, he hadn't done that all day, and he made a cast, and he put his rod by his side, and he put the rod tip right on the water, and then he just started reeling that handle as fast as I've ever seen anybody reel a handle. And he would just reel it real fast, and then he'd stop, fast, stop, and he made about 2 or 3 casts, put the rod down, sat back down in his seat, and he says, "I know it looks crazy, but he says, I promise you that if you work that bait fast, you'll catch 50% more fish." And that was the most important piece of information I ever had about a Squarebill. The Lucky Craft makes in the RC Squarebills 4 different sizes, and the way I choose them is according to, number one, really is how good a lake or how tough a lake it is. If I know all I gotta do is catch little fish, and I'm gonna use the little ones because they're gonna get more bites. But normally what I choose them according to is water clarity. I like the off-color water, and that's what I'm normally looking for when I'm using these baits, just like if you were throwing a spinnerbait. So, and the off-color water, the more off-color it is, that I tend to fish the larger baits. The clearer it is, I tend to fish the smaller baits. Over time, yes, I have confident colors, and even on the RC baits, you'll see one of my own little idiosyncrasies in color, and you'll see this copper that's in like the copper perch. You'll see it in the copper green shad in a lot of the crankbaits. That copper is my favorite all-time color of all. Yet you hardly see copper anymore. That originated from copper blades on spinnerbaits. So you'll even see, I've got some quirks about color myself. But normally I'm just going to try to identify what the main food source is. It's the old saying, if you want to understand the owl, you study the mouse. You don't study the owl. And so that's what you do with color. You study the shad, you study the bait fish. In other words, what colors. In real clear water, that's why I might be using the ghost minnow if the bait fish is transparent. If it's more shad color, then I'm using more of my shad colors that I have in the Lucky Craft baits. If it's crawfish, then you tend to go to more of your crawfish colors. But more are brim colors. Again, it depends on the region what your main sources of food are for the bass. So that's really what I highly suggest. And the final thing I suggest is just don't be hard-headed. If your buddy just whooped your tail and caught 5 on this goofy looking color, don't be afraid to try it. Get that out of your brain, get that out of the way, and go on back to fishing. It's just part of the natural evolution that when you have a bait that's been successful, as the Lucky Craft RC 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 have been, that you're going to have people that copy it. And I just caution you to beware, because even though sometimes they can make the bait look the same, they're not the same. And that's really why I've tried to point out to you about the quality of the action that has to be in those baits. And I really try to give you some science behind that. Because, no matter what you pay for a bait, it's an investment. And any investment you make in a lure, you hope to get the results that you expect. So what are you getting when you buy a Lucky Craft Squarebill? I know what you're getting. You're getting the very best wood baits I've ever fished in my life. It's been duplicated now in a hard plastic bait. What are you getting now when you get a RC double D deep diver? Or what are you getting when you get the extra deep divers? You're getting the very best deep diving wood baits I've ever fished in my life. That's what we duplicated, and that's It's the magic of Manuro and the genius behind Lucky Craft.